Hey everyone, Nicholas of One, teaching professional out here at the magnificent Lake Karrinyup Country Club. Now we have got a major driver head-to-head today. We have got 5 of the newest drivers that have just been released in the market from late 2018 and early 2019. We have skipped loads of holes on the front 9 and we've come all the way out here to the 11th hole at Lake Karrinyup Country Club, which is a par 5, a massive par 5 that runs up the hill. But the reason why we've come to this hole today is to put these drivers to the test because it is a long enough hole where we can actually hit them. So let's get straight into the review and let's have a look at which bad boy tops the market in 2019. Now let's talk about look first, because it's probably one of the most important things. You've got to like what you look at to be able to hit this driver. So now as we're sending the drone up the 11th hole so you can have a look at this magnificent par 5, most of these drivers have carbon fiber top. Other than that of the Titleist driver, the Titleist one is the only driver of this lot that has a full titanium head. But carbon fiber seems to be the in thing. Now, if I'm going to pick a driver for me personally that I like the best, I'm going to have to say it's the Cobra F9 Speed Bat. I love the white bottom, I love the matte finish top, and I like the carbon fiber look. It is an amazing looking driver. In saying that, the yellow based one, which has the brushed or the polished top, I'm not a massive fan of. But if you go for the matte finish, Cobra for me, hands down, probably the best looking driver out of these 5. Okay, let's talk about sound. We're now moving up from the middle of the bunker on the 11th hole up towards the green. And the standout for me when it comes to sound, Mizuno st190. If you actually watch my individual review, which I've left a link below, you'll see that I actually said it's probably the best sounding driver I've hit this year, and I'm going to stick to my guns. The Mizuno st190, for me, hands down, winner when it comes to sound. Okay, so let's talk about spin first of all. I'm going to apologise for the wind because it is actually getting quite windy out here at Lake Karrinyup. Now, first driver that was hit was the Cobra, spin number 3518. Then it was the Mizuno 3006, then the TaylorMade 3122. Then number 4 was the Titleist driver at 3687, and then Callaway last 3178. So winner overall will have to be the Mizuno at 3006. Now spin numbers, as you can see from the numbers, were a lot higher today simply because of the fact that they are higher lofted drivers. CG location is further back, so you're always going to get a little bit more spin. Normally I hit a 9.5 degree driver and we get spin numbers around the 2.5 to 2.8 mark. So spin numbers are up a little bit higher, but winner overall for spin was the Mizuno with 3006. Just a reminder, I am hitting all these drivers with hazardous shafts, other than that of the Mizuno, which I had hit in a tensai white, which is the closest shaft I could get to the hazardous smoke shaft in the other 4 drivers. So here we are up by the 11th green, a magnificent par 5 here at Lake Karrinyup Country Club, and as you can see, it's a monster of a par 5. Cobra F9 coming in at $6.99, the cheapest of the lot, and probably a driver worth looking at just simply because of that price. Drivers have gone up a little bit in comparison to last year's market or even the years before. We then move into the M6 and the Titleist TS2, both coming in at $7.29. Now, the M5 isn't in this review, but it is a little bit more expensive than the M6. But like I said, for the purpose of this review, we're sticking to these 2 models. We then move another $20 higher into the Mizuno st190 at a recommended retail price here in Australia, of course, because these are Australian prices, of $7.49. Then finally, we have the most expensive driver in the market, which is the Callaway Epic Flash, coming in at $7.99. Now there is one other driver I want to give a little bit of a notable mention to, and that's the Ping G410, which we don't have here, and you're going to have to come back in about a month's time to see that review. But when it comes to price point, the Ping G410 I should say, sits at the same price as the Callaway Epic Flash. Okay, so now we move on to dispersion, and all the dispersion circles were fairly small, except for the Titleist where I did leak one out to the right. So I kind of have to take that one out of the picture because it was a fairly bad hit, and I only hit 3 shots with each of them, but I've hit loads of shots with all 5 of these drivers over the last month, and dispersion circles are generally quite small with all of them. But funny enough, the one that came out on top is a Callaway Epic Flash. It had the smallest circle, and funny enough, we're about to move on to distance shortly. We'll talk about that in a sec, but all these drivers are extremely forgiving, have high MOI, so dispersion circles are always going to be small with roughly all of them, but winner today again, Epic Flash. Okay, let's talk about the one thing everyone wants to know, and which driver actually went the furthest. And to be quite honest, I kind of knew that this was going to be the result. Callaway Epic Flash was the longest. It went out at 244 meters at 100 mile/hour swing, closely followed by the TaylorMade M5 or M6 I should say, at 240 meters. So those two, as you can see, are probably the 2 more expensive drivers on the market. Well, the Callaway is definitely the most expensive, but AI technology has kicked in and it's won longest drive. Okay, so Nick's final thoughts. When it came to look, it was the Cobra. When it came to sound, it was the Mizuno. But when it comes down to the crunch, numbers is what counts, and Callaway Epic Flash killed it. 244 meters, longest drive on a 100 mile/hour swing, tightest dispersion on all 5 drivers. So it is definitely the driver for me that you need to go out there and try. Actually, to be quite honest, you need to go and try all these drivers. They all performed amazingly well, but Callaway is the one you definitely need to go and try. Anyway, there you have it. Make sure you like. Make sure you leave a comment in the comment section when you finally get to hit all these drivers. Most of these drivers are now available for testing and hitting the market very shortly. Other than that, the Titleist is already out there. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. So go down to the bottom, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the little bell notification that's next to that subscribe button, because that's what will give you a notification of when my next video is out. We'll show you more of the golf course again real soon. And as I always say, we'll see you next time on ND Golf.